Hello.
It's all about Ghanaian languages. It's all about Ghanaian languages. It's all about Ghanaian languages.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to Discover Guans with Huniah. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting story. The story about the Guan people of Ghana, Togo, Benin and Ivory Coast. Yeah. So like Kwekudi would say, okay, Kwekudi is one blogger I admired a lot who did well with Ghanaian history. He would say, I'm taking you to a trip down memory lane. Yeah. And I'll also be taking you a trip down memory lane. But before that, this video is streaming on both Discover Guans with Huniah and Huniah Your Highness TV. Yeah. And this video, actually, I did a previous one, and this one is coming as an update. Yeah, because I've done lots of research, and I've learned more and more. Okay. So this video is a summary of the entire Guan history in this book, No Ghana Better. The very detailed history is in this book. But then what I'm going to tell you is a summary of it. A summary for you to have a picture of how the Guan people got to Ghana and how the Guan language have spread over time, evolved into the present day Guan languages. Then again, you can still check the link on the screen, that's historicalhuniah.blogspot.com. And this link, okay, what I'm going to tell you, an excerpt from this book is there, where you are going to understand better. It's like you're going to get deeper knowledge from the story I'm going to tell you when you use the link on the screen and you use the search bar and you type Guan and you see the complete history of the Guan people. But that doesn't mean the story on the blogspot is the entire thing here, because in this book, okay, where I spoke about the Guan people, the complete history, I also took each Guan community one after the other and told their histories per their view. And you realize that the complete history is the sum of all the views. So this particular video I'm going to do is a summary of all the views I had from the Efutu community, the Awutu, the Nzima community, the Anyi community, the Dran community. Is a summary. But the entire thing, No Ghana Better, is in here. So, if you also want private lessons, be it on the Ga language, Dangbe language, Efutu language, Shrepon, Latte, you can let me know and I'll gladly assist you. For the other language that I'm not really good at, those who watch the Guan channel, they know I team up with others to help bring Guan content. So even if you contact me, I would get you a good Guan teacher to help you out. Okay. So going forward, more information will be displayed on the screen, and you can easily contact me by mail or by WhatsApp. If you call, it won't go through. Okay. But if you still insist on calling, someone would answer. But if you want me to answer you, just WhatsApp and I would gladly answer you. So without much time we waste, let's just begin. So the Guan people, who are they? One thing I would like you to understand is, like I told you, it's a summary of all the views, the oral issues I've learned over a period of 13 years now. I started learning in the year 2007. So I think, 16 years now The time I published this book was in 2021. So that was about 14 years. And I've still been learning till date. So over 17 years now. So knowledge I've gathered over 17 years is what I'm going to share with you today. Yeah. Not many people are going to dedicate 17 years just learning a language and a culture. But I did it. So let's go. Long ago, so let's go the traditional Ghanaian way of storytelling. Okay. Maybe yeah. And it's not say ne miki kene isi. Nyatala shin magba nyesane. Muntina se na menka abakosem enchiremo. So long ago, a group of people migrated from an area around Egypt. And sometimes where their conditions do not favor them. And people have known to be nomads. Humans naturally like to travel. Humans migrate for various reasons. For agriculture, maybe this land is no more fertile. They have to look for a fertile place, or maybe for food. Okay, but sometimes they'll get to a place and then there are people there who are hostile to them. So they have to continue moving. So long ago, a group of people moved from an area around ancient Egypt. I'm not saying Egypt, but an area around. And I'm using the word ancient. The reason being that is where they see it to be. But it's not exactly the modern day Egypt. So an area around ancient Egypt. They kept moving through places. And they got to an area around present day Mali and Senegal. Back then there was nothing like borders and demarcations. So we can't tell whether it is Senegal or Mali, but we know it is in that area. And with time, these people spread into 3 groups. One group called themselves the Shoyi group. The others called themselves the Le group. And the others also called themselves the Indenye group or the Indenye group. So these 3 groups lived in harmony. They were speaking closely related languages. But languages evolve. To understand more about language evolution, I have a video on my YouTube channel, Huniah TV, the languages of Ghana part 1 and 2. Yeah. And for that particular video, it's a series. So I'm still producing. Part 3 and 4 will be coming out soon. So this group of people were around an area around ancient Mali, ancient Senegal, maybe 800 to 1,002 years ago. As they were there, one of them, one man and his family, they are in a particular area, and his name would be Jakpa. Jakpa. And this man, Jakpa, consulted a soothsayer who told him that, Jakpa, you know something? You are a great man, but being here will not make you great. You will be a great man elsewhere, and people will tell stories about you. So perhaps Jakpa was happy, he really wanted this. So after carefully thinking about it, he was like, okay, then why don't I migrate? Why don't I leave? And in their language, they call people Inde. Inde is people. But like I told you, they are in groups and in dialects. So some will say Inde, some will say Ade. Okay. So this man meditated with some of his people. So he has to leave. And some were convinced and they followed him. But they were united. They were a group of people who are united. They were like, why is he going? Why is he going? So they might have said it in their old Guan language. And because presently we have so many Guan, I don't even know which one to use. But maybe if I should choose Chirepon. Bom Nomuwa, or maybe Bom Nomuwa, or if I should, because even the Chirepon will say Womu, but all the other ones says Amo. So if I should cancel the Omu and say Amu, Bom Namu Wa. So they're asking their questions. No. Or maybe they'll come back. Hey, they're not coming back. Maybe it's been 3-4 days. We have to be united. We can't separate. No, we have to follow, because we've been nomads. That means travelers all our lives. So since they are going, let's also follow. Then the others followed. So they traced their roots. They kept tracing them. So one group has already left. And Jakpa now became Indera. Jakpa, Inde means people. Indera. Ora. Okay, Indera. Jakpa. So Indera Jakpa left with his people. And then the others followed, because no, they can't let him go whilst they are there. So the others perhaps got to a place around ancient Burkina Faso. And they might have met some group of people called the Gur people. Today we call them the Nordness, because they are different group of people. And those people, their story is in this book, No Ghana Better, because I spoke about them and how their languages later became Mole Dagbon, where now we have Nanumli, Dagbanli, Mampruli, Kusal, where we have the Gurunsi, Nabet, Talni, and Co. Sisala, Kokomba, Loso, everything is here. Alright. So they might have encountered them and learned some of their stuff, because sometimes when you move, you get tired. Remember, they are humans. So as they move, it's not a one-day thing, journeying from ancient Senegal to Ghana. It's not a joke. So then you are picturing it. So maybe they'll get tired, stay for 3-4 days, gather energy and food, then they move. So, as you stay with some people, you will learn some of their stuff. So perhaps that is why till date, the Gur people, okay, notably the Kusals, the Gabes, and some few of them, they say fo to mean you, fo. And let's say half of the Guan people presently also say fo as you, because in Konya fo, Gonja fo, in Chumblu they say fe, but it's still in the fo area. Nari fo and co. But then when you get to the Nzima side, they will say war. Nzima is war, Anyi is war, Seshi is war, Efut is also war, but Chirepon Latte they say war like tree. But the others say war. So yeah, so the word for, okay, perhaps because they share it with the good people. But we'll come back to that, because it's still a storytelling, and I'll come back. So at certain points in time, I'll pause on some people, then I will say, okay. And when you have questions, please don't forget to drop it in the comment box below. You can ask your questions. You can also, if you have contributions, kindly lay it. Okay, yeah. So later, they were still tracing their brothers, and they came to meet them at a place. And in the Jakpa later got tired as they were journeying, because it was years. It was maybe months or years, I don't know. Yeah, months. Let's use months. Should be more appropriate. If it was months of walking, and when he was like, okay, we are tired. Ebole. So ebole is yeah, it's okay. So he told the people, Mende ebole, my people, it's okay. So ebole, then they named the place Ebole, which has been corrupted till date as Bole. So you hear of Bole Bamboy. That was where they stopped. They got tired. They can't journey anymore. After settling, they made it their home. And according to a group of people also in that area called the Safalba, they made it clear that when the old Guans, now known as the Gunjas, came to settle over there, the Gunjas wanted to sack them from the lands. But they also resisted. And after resisting, later an understanding was reached and they lived side by side. That's why till date, the Safalba and then the Vagla, they live with the Gunjas peacefully and side by side. Yeah, so I've touched on them. Then those who came to meet the Ebola people, and they all were living together. But now they've seen a new land. They need to explore. So the Ebola people stayed back, but these people moved down a bit to an area around Bonomanso, Techiman, Kwame Danso presently. But you know there were many, but we don't know. But we can just assume that maybe 500 to 1,000, 2,000 people, because as they are moving, obviously some will pass on, some will get tired, some will not want to come anymore. You have to understand all these things. So let's assume 1,000, 2,000 people. And they were like, okay, some group should be here, some group here. So the Shoye group stayed around the Kwame Danso, Bonomanso areas. Then the leg group stayed in the middle. Then the endangered group moved a little further, and it entered into an area around Ivory Coast. They stayed there for years. Later, the Akans came. They lived together. As the Akans came, but way back in Mali, these people might have had some contact with the Akan people. So perhaps as they journeyed, it might have prompted the Akan speakers to like, okay, maybe the conditions here is very tough. Why don't we go down, see where our brothers are? Because very, very ancient Guan vocabs are also in Akan. And Guan and Akan languages share the same genealogy or the same genetics. So when you study, the contact was not only in Ghana, it might have been from the Akan, the Mali areas. That's where they started having contact. Okay. Because all of Guan history and Akan history points to ancient Ghana Empire. Okay, so later the Akans came and they met these Guans and Bonomans and then they settled. They lived together. They were giving birth. They were spreading out. Then it happened that those who helped establish the settlement, maybe 100, 200, 300 years have passed. Those who helped establish the settlement have died. And generations, maybe 2 to 3 generations have come. And somehow the languages were many because they all sound Akan. But it's hard to understand. One friend of mine, Sylvester Sako, he's a Bono man from Nkranza. So in my days of research, he's a history student at the University of Cape. He made me understand that growing up and learning from his forefathers, much of the war that started between the Guans and the Akans and then the Bono people is because they wanted one Akan language. And the variant of the Akan language that they wanted to dominate was Tree. I'm not going to state whether Asante Tree, Bono Tree, I'm not going to, but it appears they wanted a particular Tree language to dominate. And the others are not going to throw away their language. So it started a war. Okay, it started a misunderstanding. And this misunderstanding later brewed into a fight, and a fight, hatred, then hatred into war. So, some had to leave. So, per the oral history, of the latter people, if they are singing their movement, they tell you how they moved from the Chumburu lands to Senya, then to Senya to Nyanoase, then to Nyanoase to Latte Kriapim. But let me narrate. Okay, so the Latte has this song that they sing, but let's talk about it. So we can say that the Shoyi group moved down, the Le group moved down, but though the Indenya group moved more westwards into the present day Kong areas, somewhere in the Ivory Coast. We'll pause on them. Let's tackle the Shoyi and then the Le. Then later we go back. We're going to take it one by one to help you understand. So this Shoyi group, they came down to an area around Sinyabreku. And when they settled, well, you know, they are nomads. They like moving. Then they moved to Accra. So they settled in the Ghana lands. Later, the Ghana people, they settled in Ghana land for years. Later, the Ghana people came to meet these people. And these people named them the Nkrane or the Ngla. That's why to date, Guan people either refer to the Ghans as Nkla or Ngla, based on the type of Guan language you are speaking. Alright. Fast forward. At Ngla, when the Gan people settled, the original language the Gan people came with was Dangbe. But some of the Gan people moved closer to the Guans, and they became very united. This story is not about the Gan people, so I'm just rushing through the Gan side. Some of them, with years, they learned each other. The Gans learned the Guan language, and some of the Guan people learned the Gan language or the old Dangbe language. And their children, they'll be mixing this language and this language, then become a new language, and then there'll be language shifts, they'll be code switching, picking words from Guan into old Dangbe, and with time, that old Dangbe language, which had contact with the Guan language, became the Gan language. But the one that didn't have contact with Guan is still known as Dangbe. And it is said that the Dangbe said, these people are spoiling the language. That's what brought the name Adagbe Dangbe. But that's not our focus. So the Ga language till date is a mix of Old Dangbe, Guan, and later when the Dutch and English came, mixed up with English and Dutch. That's what the Ga man will say. Haminglebi. And Nglebi is from the Guan word Nglebi, which means a little. So if the Gunjas will say it, Sma Nglebi. Or the Nchumbulu, Semi Nglebi. The latest, Nemi Nglebi. So Nglebi. The Kunyas will say Nglebi as Palibi. So the Kunyas will say Hami Palibi. The Futus will say Improbi. That's the Awutus, they'll say Improbi. Then the Futus will say Improko. The Enzimas will say the Nklebi as Chimbi. So you see, still, even though Enzima has changed, there's the B is still at the end to show the Guan roots. Because the Enzimas were from the Indenya group, they were still at the Con areas. So that is why their language changed. But we'll get back to them. Okay. Then the Gans also learned so many words. That's why the Gans will say "se" as back. Then the Guans also say as "insi" back. So the Guans who were in the Ghana, they say back as "insi." But then some also say "oma" or "kama" as back, due to language contact. But then the people of Nkonya, they don't use the insin. They maintain the original Guan, which is Oma, like the Gunjes, Kama. But then the others who were in contact with the Gan, they say the insin. Let's continue. Later, okay, let's pause here. We are going to build on this story. So let's go to the Guans. They settled in an area around the Denchira Enyi areas. Those of you who have been to Wasa, Takwa, that there, so Bros Associates, you realize that they are close, like they are together. Wasa, Pepenza, they are moving to the Enyi lands. So these people had to leave those areas because of unrest, uncertainties. They needed a safe place. But now, they know the areas very well because they've been there for years. So, some of them travel. So, they were like, okay, why don't you settle on mountains? And this mountain issue this is what you have to note. The Guan people about bloodshed. It's part of their history. Perhaps the Gunjas moved first and the others came later. So, it happened that with the Gunjas, you mess with them, they'll mess with you. But with the others, you mess with them, they can't. They have to move and look for peace. There, in when Indira Jakpa moved these people, they moved first, and they were little, so maybe they might have encountered battles, so it changed them. But the others are still the same. The Zima, Likpe, Buem, whatsoever, they're all the same. They can't shed blood. So, according to one Nana Anjefune, the Aman crowd of Achode in Kwanta and Shiare, whom I stayed with for days, learning the Achode history, doing my research work, it made me understand that the name Achode means Achiwede because Guans, bloodshed is their taboo. So there's no way any Guan can shed blood. If a Guan man sheds blood, then pacifications have to be done. And the cost to pacify is too much that they better avoid it. And when you tell the Ghana people too, because of their contact with the Guans, till dates, the people of Nungwa, you can't shed blood on their land. Because when you shed blood, it means you've ruined their Homo festival. A lot of pacifications has to be done. So in Nungwa in general, you don't shed blood on the land. So you see the contact, but we are still building. So these people, because they know how they are tied, they can't shed blood. So when you bring the war to them, they have to move. So from there, they move to an area in the central region. And per the oral issue of the lay people, presently Buem and Likpe, they made us understand that the Denchira people didn't give them peace. So they had to leave. So they came to Accra, but they didn't like the place, and then they moved to present-day Hohoi, where they stayed. We shall come back to them. Now, before we get back to them, let's go back to the Indigenous people. So Indigenous people were there at the corn areas. Then it happened that a group of people called the Mandé came. They were warriors. Like when they can come with spears, horses and stuff. And these people, they won't fight you. They will leave for their peace. So they left. And when you check the oral issue of the people in the Western region and some of the Western region people, they are in northeast, not the Chakosi. Chakosi made it clear that the Mandés didn't come for war. Okay, even though the Mandés looked fearless, they were peaceful and they moved with them. But when you check the stories given by the Westerners, they saw the Mandés to be warriors and was bringing fighters, so they had to leave. So when you check the two sides, then when the Mandés came, these people were scared. So they obviously had to run for their lives. So they came down, but then they spread into two groups. So we are going to name one group, Indenya Group 1 and Indenya Group 2, for you to understand things clearly. So Indenya Group 1, took a different path. Indenya Group 2 went southwards. So let's start with Indenya Group 1. Indenya Group 1, they were probably were not seeing the Mandés come because remember it's a stretch of lands. So maybe they might have heard that some group of people called the Mandés are coming. Charlie, let's go. So as they move with the Fantis. The Indenya Group 1. They came down. by the prayer areas. But the sound, the Fantis obviously took a different path. That's the why the name Ofa Ato. Ofa Ato. Half is gone. Yeah. But then the Indigenous group 2, still on the Indigenous group 1, sorry, the others came to settle at an area where we call the Ahanta lands, and they found peace. Ahanta, yeah. And those two groups will be Ahanta and Baule. So Ahanta to the south, Baule to the north. So they were there. And perhaps they felt threatened by the Denchira or the Asantes. Okay. Yeah. And the Ahantas moved more to the coast. But then the Baule people, they were like, no, let's move this way. So they moved further. As they moved, it got to a place they had to cross a river. Okay. There are so many rivers, so oral issue is not clear about which river. So as they were about to cross, it happened that a sacrifice was demanded, and one Nana Pokuya realized that whatever they were giving is rejected, so she has to sacrifice something precious to her. And what is this precious one? Her child. So this brought about their name. Ebawule. Mbawule. Ewule is deaf in the Nzima language. Bawule. Yeah. Like I told you, I'm just summarizing the whole story. So I'm not going to go too deep. I'm just trying to summarize. So we've dealt with the Bawules. I will still come back to the Baule, but let's just pin it down. I've not forgotten the Shuip. I've not forgotten those at Hohoi. But the Ahantes rather pushed down to a place. And how the name Ahanta came about, they were still in the group. But then most of them were hunters. So they had a favorite farming spot. And in the Ahanta language, okay, one old man, a name, made me understand that this favorite hunting spot, okay, it had this tree that they believe to be twins, okay, Inta. And the hunting is Ahaye. So Ahaye Inta, that is hunting around the twin tree area. Ahaye Inta became Ahanta. But they're still on the name Ahanta. It is also said that a group of people called the Asebu, and then Asebu from another group from a place called Mpakuwa also traveled by sea, and later they had to swim to the coast, and that was the Ahantas. And when they came down, they had to dry their clothes. So wamu hata then. So hata Ahanta. So already the people have the name Ahanta, Ahaya and which have become Ahanta. And it's supposed to because of the drying of clothes. So maybe they were like, oh, as they are drying, then maybe destiny has smiled on this name, Ahanta. So perhaps their action is confirming the name Ahanta. Yeah. Okay. So I think we are done with the Ahanta. So let's move on. Now the second group, they came down. And this second group, the Indian too, which we are now going to change their names to the Old Enyins. When they came down, they know the areas well. So obviously sometimes those settle say, oh, go and check where our brothers are. So perhaps they might have found their brothers around the Ahanta areas, and they moved towards those areas. But then as they settled there, those who were not truly afraid of the Mandés sought protection from the Mandés, and the Mandé people migrated with them to an area around Nkunya, and from Nkunya took them northwards, and they went back north to settle at a place, and those are the Chakosi people, and they speak the Anufo language. So we shall pause on them. Yeah. Okay. Or basically, if you want to know more about, I will still come back to the Chakosis to talk about them. But basically, if you want to know more about the Anufo into details, it's in this book, No Ghana Better. But we shall pause on them. We shall chip a little bit about them. So now let's come back. So this old Enyim, some have left and they're going to establish the Chakosi settlement. They are at peace now. So they were giving birth. Now they've entered into Togo because now presently Chakosi areas is not only in Cherepone, but now they are in Mango in Togo. They've entered deep. So this old Enyims, okay, unfortunately for them, the Akwemu people came to colonize them. Back then, the Akwemu were not the Akwambo people. Okay, the Akwambo, and then later Akwemu came to colonize them. Not just they colonized the Ahantes, all of them. And they were given. Okay. How do I know they were given? So during my research work, one Nana Kwame Otu Akoto. Okay, yeah. He's a chief in Akwemu areas. He's popular on Facebook. He made me understand that the Akwemus gave this old Enyims 2-week ultimatum into where they make country. Also, Munja is someone kwasi akasa nika. You see the word Munja is someone kwasi akasa nika. No munka yakasa no, no munka tri kasa no. So gave them 2 weeks ultimatum to stop that in kwasi akasa. And then to out of fear, they stopped speaking the kwasi akasa. And so the tree became dominant. The Akwemu tree became very dominant among them. That is why till date, when you get to the Nzima areas, we have the Ahomu, which shows that they were really colonized by the Akwemus, because the Nzimas have this metamorphosis where K becomes H in their language. So for example, Ko, then that's Ko, that's go, but I went, the K will change to H. Mkomaha. Okay. Changes. All right. So let's try and finalize on this people. So now this old Enyim, okay, it's happened that whenever they are asked a question, they've meditated among themselves that whenever they are asked a question, what they should say is anenzima, we don't know. So the word anenzima, Nzima is what has now become Nzima. All right. Later, when peace was established, those people moved downwards. How did peace got established? For that one, I'm going to see it in this video. You will just get it in this book. Yeah. Okay. Later, they moved downwards and they settled the Nzima settlement. Let me chip in with the Nzimas before I come back to the other old Enyim group. So when the Nzimas settled, okay, it happened that they realized that, okay, the Ahayenta people are here, the Baole, so they started spreading towards to meet their brothers. But unfortunately, some Nzima group who had contact with the Ahantes mixed up their language with the Ahanta language, and their name became Evalue. Evalue simply means mixture, Ifutu, Fra. Evalue fra. So Evalue is a mixture of Nzima and Ahanta, and that's the language. Then the others, the Dromolo, the Lengbele people going. Then we had a group of Enyims. So actually the Nzimas are from the Enyim family. Then we have a group of Enyims who later changed. And then now they call their language Pepeza, or the Dria Pepeza people. Okay, but presently the people of Pepeza speak Wasatri more. We shall hit on the Wasa people to going ahead, but I want to establish some facts so that those I have to hit on, there will be few, so I don't forget everything. Okay. So now I think we are done the Nzimas. Let's go back to the old Enyims. Those are the top. So those old Enyim people, they named themselves Anyi. Anyi is now what the people of Latte will say enum, which is opening Anyi. So they are the elders. And these Anyi people now speak the Anyi language or the Awonui. And the Awonui people, unfortunately, because of Akanization, their languages broke into dialect. Some preserved the original Anyi, some became Akanized. So when you check Anyi is spoken around Elubo, okay, and then the cocoa town areas, don't say maybe Mikpawokele, that is I beg you, Mikpawokele. But when you check those around the Brosa, Awin areas, don't say Mpawochere or Mpochele. Okay, Mpochire. So the Kele, Akan, L becomes R, Kele. Then the K sound becomes Ch. So Mpochire, and then they make Power Kele. The P sound is not existent in Akan. They became Pochire. So those people maybe where the Enyis around the Lubo will say Kangome, they will say Kambe, like they change the language. Sorry, Kangumi is Kesi Aladdin. Sorry, Kesi Aladdin. Okay, they changed the language and became more Akanized. So even the Eni, we have the one that looks more Guan and the one that looks more Akan. Now I want to finalize on this group of people. Then we'll have less people to tackle in the future. So this Enis now, okay, due to the Akanization, the Akwemus Akanizing them, you realize that the people of Nzima, those say come as bla, but the Enis will say come as ba, which is how all the Guans, Gonja, Achode, they all say come as ba. Che is a beer, which is how all the Guans will say it. A whole lot. Maybe home. In the southern Guans, that's a futu Latin code. Those say ewuso. Then those say ero. But in the Nzimes, the ewuso, they've dropped the ewu. Then it says sio. Even king among Guans is said as ora. That's why I said indera. But it's meant to say awulai. So they've changed it. It has corrupted over time. And languages evolve naturally. And unfortunately for the Nzima Enyi group, they've been deeply Akanized. So their language has become more true now. The Akan has come to stay in their language. So it's like if you don't look deep into the language, you don't even realize it is Guan. Unless somebody who has dedicated time to study these languages. Now in Guan, more is him or her, but in Nzima and Enyi, they don't see it as more, they see it as more or more. Okay, more or leye de bien. If when you check some of the Guan language, almost all the Guan language, sorry, more is him or her, but the Nzimas have evolved it to more leye de bien. So that more, okay. In Nzima and then the Anyi, it's not him or her, it is rather its or his or hers. Near Oya then more. So it is still there, but they've changed its usage. That's how separated the languages have become now. And it goes on. Nzima has high Guan, but Nzima has less Guan compared to Enyi. Enyi has more Guan, a whole lot, but that is not what we are looking for. Like I told you, the deeper details are in this book. Now the Chakosis, I told I will go back to that one. The Chakosis, because they separated earlier, they were not really touched by the Akans, although they still move with their language. So when you check come here, the Nzimas will say blake. And all the ones they say here as Nfe. So the parents, the Nzimas have changed the fe to ke, to blake. The hunters will say brake. As for a hunter, that they come, they are using pure fancy brake. So as for them, let's just, because even to date, it's still undergoing Akanization. That's a hunter. Now a hunter will say look as kre. And then the Guans Latin will say ke or kene. So the Guyanese will say kene. The associates will also say kre. Then the hunters will say the hunters will say kre and go and ongoing. So it is in there in all their languages. But the Chakosis, they will say here as balafe. And when you check the Latin code, they'll say banfe. All of them banfe. The Chakos will say balafe. But then the Enyis, because of the Akanization, the Kwemu Akanization, they now say bawa. Bawa. Mpo Chele bawa by the pool of Brusa. They the Mpo Kle bawa by the Enyis of Elubo. Okay. So I think to summarize, okay, I'll come back to the histories later. So let's just leave this people now. Now we've established that the Baules, okay, we've established that they're all together now. Now let's come back to the Shoyi people. Some of the Akwemus came to Trifo, and then coming they met this Guan group. They're like, hey, Mudasuwaha. We were thinking we saw those we left here, some of you have also come here. So you know already, they have to do the things on them. So what they did, so as they did things on the guns were also not spared. The guns were never spared. They also faced the music. So they had to move them to a settlement in somewhere the Achin areas to build a place called Nyanoase. So they were more like workers for the Akwemu people. So as they helped build the Nyanoase, it's happened that the leader back then passed on. When he passed on, the others saw an opportunity to flee. So they fled. And they climbed the mountains. As they climbed the mountains, few of them came back to the Ghana lands. And those are the Awutus and the Futus. But those who went to the mountains, the Akwemus pursued them. And because they saw that they were not at peace, majority went upwards and some went east. So let's right now tackle those that went upwards. We shall tackle those that went eastwards later. So those that went upwards, they passed through the Kweru forest, Agogo, and they kept going. But some of them branched and they didn't go anymore. Those are the incoming people at the Amankwa Krum. Some went the front plains. Now they say themselves as Kwerus, but when you start speaking their Guan language, then they will speak the incoming with you. So then they kept going and they got to a place called, which they named Narikipo. A group of them called themselves the Nari people. Nari simply means we work in groups. So they were all in group, but they were families. One person should lead these people. One person should lead this. One person should lead these people. So one group named themselves the Nari. So in that forest, they named the forest Narikipo. So this Narikipo, okay, is still dead at Kwame Danso. Then later they started spreading. Then they established their settlement. I just don't want to go too deep. But now the settlements are the Inchumbulu settlements. So they start from Ketekreachi. Jain is a settlement on this one. The Guan settlement. They speak they originally called the Kenyan people, but now they speak the Kenyan language, now known as the Jain language. Jain is the Akanization of Guan. You know, maybe fa Ogwan mame, fa fe Jan mame, meko gum. Okay, that's if a Guan the Asante so the trees will say meko dream. You get it. So that's Guan, Jain. So today they are called the Jain people, the Kenyan, and not as Jain. Then some group of Wasa also migrated, and when they got to the Jain areas or the Jain in Chumblu areas, they settled with the Jain people and they learned to speak the Jain language because already they've been with the Pepenza, old Pepenza people, so they naturally know how to speak the Pepenza Guan. So going there, the Jain will be easier for them. So they started learning it, but they were speaking it with an accent and some few minor vocabs. That's from the Wasa tree and then the Pepenza they know. So they mixed it up and then they named themselves. So then their name is still Wasa, but the Wasa became corrected to Riase. And they have found out Riase, Bantama and Frama. They continue to Kplang. Then you go to Inchumbulu. Then you cross the river. Then you meet the Gonjes. So it's like they continue their brothers. But now let's talk about the Nchumbulus a little bit. When the Nchumbulus got to their settlement, they are closer to the Gonjes. So we have the Chindere community, which is a borderland between present day Nari land and then the Gonja land. Okay. So when the Nchumbulus were kind of when the Gonjas were like, "Woi be chumbulu pa," meaning there are a lot, like there are a lot, or they move plenty. So it is said that Bechumbulu is what brother than in Chumbulu. But then one professor in the first video I did, okay, this is currently an update. Yeah, I remember he called me, he took my number and he called me. He was like, yeah, the Bechumbulu story is he knows that one, which is correct, but he's going to add another school of thought. So I have to credit him for this. So Mr. Ketu Simbo, right, well, he's a historian in the University of Ghana, but he's now no more there. He made me understand that when some of the Chumbu people, when they got to settle, the river, the Volta Lake, they call it the Titabo or the Flower River. So it happened that at first they didn't even know there was a lake there, but the day they discovered it, they were like, in Chubulon, there's water there in Chubulon. So the Inchumbulo is what also brought about the name Inchumbulo. So he said the school of thought, okay, the school of thought are on two, let me say two sides. One is Bichumbulo and one is Inchumbulo. So yeah, so I decided to chip this in. Okay. Now, the Naris moved and they settled right after the Nchumbulu people. So, the Naris to the north of Nari or northeast is Nanumba land, Gonja, Nchumbulu, then Achode. Yeah, so the Guans in the north, they are together. Gonja land, Dompo, Dry, Riase, Bassa. We have the Bassa Guans also. Ketekreachi in Chumbulu. It continues. Achode, Alijo, Anyanga, Chakosi, then Semere. They continue. Like there's no break. So the Naris, when they settle, so like we told you, Na Wuri Wuri, they work in groups. That's about the name Nari. They are hunters. So then let's go to the Achode. The Achodes stayed on a mountain and then they held to their name, Achwede, meaning with taboo bloodshed. They wanted to remind them, so that actually later became Achode. But then when the whites came to Ghana, they write their name as Ajuati. It is not Ajuati, it is Achode. And then some Guans settled right after that Achode community, that is the Alijo, and then the Anyanga people, and they speak the Ginyanga language. And then some move further. So the Alijo Anyanga, presently we look at it in Togo. And then those that move further, that the Semere people, they are together with the Kotokoli. Now they call themselves Kotokoli Semere. And they are now in present day Benin, not Benin. Okay, so the Semere are also known as Foodo. When you hear someone saying, I'm Foodo, I'm Semere, Guan, but he or she is Guan. But the Guans located in Togo. In Benin. So let's calm down. We are done with the north people. Let's calm down to the southness. So some of the Shoyis who left Latte, they moved eastwards. And when they got an area around Senchi, those of you know the Sajuna beach. Okay, when they got there, some that Kwemus pursued them. When they saw them come, they were running into the Volta Lake. But they realized they would drown. So they were like, Ane Sanchi. So the Ane Sanchi, the Akwebus were looking at them. Now, interestingly, Sanchi is what the Nzimes will say Sanzi. Sa-inzi. So Nzimes will say Sanzi return. Then Kunyas will say Sanchi return. So you see the similarities. So as they returned, they had to plead. So maybe I can imagine how the Akwebus will laugh. So where were you going to? You yourself, you'd like, where were you going to? I can just imagine it. Like, okay, you can cross. Just get a boat raft, cross and go to the other side. Because the thing is, I'm not sure this land can contain the two of it. So you just cross and go. Yeah, you can picture it. So they crossed, and then they moved a little bit further after, from the to the Dwapon area. They started settling Esikuma, Enum, Buso. So Enum, it is said that there were 5 people who settled that settlement in the valleys, and then in the place Nu, which is 5, but later became Enum due to Colonization. Then the Buso. And those people, they still call themselves the Gua people. But then some of them were like, no, we can't stay here. So we are moving. And they moved, and they went to meet the women, the Likpe people. And they're like, oh, are you here? Ane bon phone. Oh. Sani bon fienda neighbor. Okay. So, okay, brothers have met. Then Kunyas moved a little bit ahead and settled on, and then they settled down. Then they named the place Nkunya. Nku Anya. We had it out. We fought and we won. So victory in Kunya. But then the others moved. That's the Wen people. They are also from the Lake group. They settled right on top, right after the Kunya people. And then they were at a place. Okay. Then later they started spreading Jasikai, Guamai, Ayoma, and Co. They started spreading out. There was an original name to the place, which is in this book. So when you open the poems, the detailed history, what made them spread, how the name Jasikai, which means Insue Jasikai, how it came about. But I gave that history in this video. No Ghana better day 4. Check this channel. That is both the Guan, Discover Guans with Huniah, or the Your Highness TV. Check my playlists. Travel and tour around Ghana, or best place to visit in Ghana. Look for No Ghana Better Day 4. That is visiting Jasika and Nkwanta, and then the Shiare Mountains. We met with the Buem leaders, and then all that story was shared, but I'm not going to share it in this story. In this video, sorry. Okay, then the Buem settled. But in the people of Likpe, it was told that when the airways came, something happened. Okay, where a pregnant woman was accidentally killed, and then they had to also ask for replacement. They fought the people back, and then they were like, where? They've taken it. Then they moved to the Likpe. So Likpe, Buem, and then Nkunya, they are together. Okay. Someone may ask, well, what of the Akpafu? What of the Sancho Kofi? Sancho Kofi are actually a group of people. Sancho Kofi are from the Tafis who migrated, and actually their language is not originally Guan. Their language is part of the Ghana Togo Mountain group. Okay, but for Akpafu, they are also a group of people who live with the Guans over time and borrow so many Guan words, but originally the Akpafu language is not Guan. But presently, they say things like Kita Manse and Co. And Manse in Guan means laughter, which the Akpafu still say. But we shall deal with that in a different video. That's the Ghana Togo Mountain languages. I'll deal with that in another video. But for now, we shall just skip that. Alright. Otherwise, it is still here as usual. So the Kunyas have settled this, and then I said I will come back to the Chakosis. Now, interestingly, I think I've given you a brief overview of the Guan history, because this, if I say I'll talk about it, it's about 3 to 4 hours. So I'm just trying to summarize. Now, interestingly, what you have to understand is the Achodes. Okay, one language has changed. Like we try to say go as ba, but come as ba. Here come as banfe. So you start feeling the Guan there. But in actually, when you want to say inside, they say no. So maybe kreno. Okay, krano. Look inside. The I had to also say krano. Look inside. So actually, and a hunter are saying the same thing. They say they look at the same thing. Inside as the same thing. Meanwhile, actually, are at Nkwanta in the OT region. And then the hunters, see where they are. Secondary Takradi areas. Now, actually, that's if you remembered me, the Pasa areas. In actually, when you say go, pa, fetch is so pasa and chuba, they've been going to fetch water. So they fetch the water from the Damo Akon River, Damo, one that is lying alone, Damo Akon. So when I go to so, pasa and chuba to the Damo Akon, no, go fetch water from the Damanko inside. So that's why the name Damanko. That's where the bursaries are currently settled. And then the Pasa is also the bursary settlement. But originally it is a Guan settlement, but now the bursaries have dominated the areas. Bursaries are actually southern cucumbers. Okay. Alright. So modern Guan languages. Kindly check my blogs for historical Huniah. And so where I wrote detailed issue about the modern Guan languages, and then I also published an article on the forgotten Guans, because some of the Guan languages died over time, like Dompo. Now Plan is a forgotten Guan language. When you cross the Yeji River into the Gonja lands, there are some Guan communities who have now forgone their language, they're not speaking Gonja, but they'll tell you in the past they used to have an identity. I wrote about all those in that article, the forgotten Guans. Presently, when you check, the Guan languages have changed. Some are more conservative, others are less conservative, and it seems I've skipped the story about the latte and then the Chepon people. So let's come back to them. When they settled on the mountains and the others left, just few of them remained. Just few of them remained. And those that remained, one of them climbed a very high mountain, a mountain on a mountain, that's the latte. So when you climb the Kriapin mountain and get to the Ekropon areas, to get to latte, you have to go up again on another mountain, so on a mountain, to just feel safe. And then those that settled below the latte mountains are the Okra people, meaning the soul. Now, when you check that group of languages, is usually in their language. Okay, any word that is in Guan or in old Guan, they've now changed it to So the Okra later became Okre. Okre is now what is said as Okre Bongbo, great Okre. Then the Okre Bongbo, one thing about the Guan language is that is the metamorphosis is to ch. So Okre, Ochre Bongbo, Chirepon. That's what we brought about the language Chirepon. The people of Chirepon are found around Abonsen, Akuni, Asisiaso, Aprede, Edukrum, Eukugwa, Dewu, Ebru, Ekropon. But Ekropon is more of an Akan land, and there's a history why Ekropon is there, because when they had to fight the Akwemus, okay, the Ekwapims called for support. They were thinking the Akwemus terrorizing them were Asantes, so they had to dispatch message that haven't we settled the feud among us. Now to better help understand, when they settle the Ghana lands, they dispatch message that something, we don't want war anymore. Let's live in peace. So peace was established with the Achims and the Akans and co. But when the Akwemus came terrorizing them, they were like, we thought this is over. So that's why they left Nyanuasi and to the mountains. So they thought this was over. Unfortunately for them, it was not over. So they had to dispatch message. So people were brought from Asante Mampon to come help them fight. Some people also came from Achim. So that's why we have a Kriapin Mampon, because they were originally from Asante Mampon to come and fight this fight. The Achims who also came to help were settled on the mountains. Okay, but so later the Akwemus were sacked. But some Akwemus started to, like, okay, why don't we let go of this war? And then they said it. So later, after they settled, and then the Akwemu tree, okay, the Akwemu tree came to stay with these people. the Guans. And then Akwemu tree, later the name was changed to Ekriapim tree. So Ekriapim tree is originally Akwemu tree. Akwemu tree. Now, some that now, but presently now, the Akwemus on the mountains are not known as Ekriapims. But if you want the real Akwemus, then from the Bon, where Akosombo, okay, Edumasa, Jekiti, that's in the eastern region, the Sajuna Beach. Now that's where they are now. At Timpoku, where the Domi bridges, that's where they are now. Akosombo, that's where the Akwemus are now. They are now, this is now the Esojamai district. Okay, yeah. So, with respect to the Efutus, they didn't live. They were in the Ghana lands. But later they realized their language was corrupting because it was almost becoming Ghana. And they had the greatest influence on the Ghana people. But they had to leave because they need to save their language. So they moved and they first settled a place called Idepa. They named the place Idepa, sleeping place. But later Idepa was corrected to Dampa. Then others moved. Then later they kept moving. Then they came to Awutu, Breku, and Co. Then others moved to establish the Senya settlement from Sowunya, Senya, brief, rest, Sowunya, Senya, then Simpa. Like, the Ghana is far, so let's settle here. Because they don't want the Ghana to be far from them. But at the moment, those in the western region, the language has been highly Akanized. Those in the central region has been Akanized. Eastern region has been Akanized. But those in the OT and then the northern region, they have also been Akanized to some extent and Islamized also some extent. So in Chumbulu has some Islamic effect or let me say Arabic effect and then the Akan effect. So the Guan languages have evolved. Now we don't have a single Guan language where we can say, okay, when an Efutu man speaks, now you understand pocket because when you check even Awutu Breku and Senya Breku, that are even very close. When an Awutu man speaks, the Senya man will struggle to understand. Even though Awutu and Latte, just here and here, okay, they struggle to understand each other. Even Cherepon and Latte, the differences are very wide. Even Cherepon and Enumbuso, that they are supposed to be close. At certain points in time, they even struggle to understand each other. That is how the Guan languages have broken down. So presently, per my research work, and which I clearly said in this book, that based on my back then it was almost 13 years studying these languages, I realized that these languages can be grouped into 4 groups. Then Akan related Guan languages. That's those in the western region out to the Baule areas. I said I will talk about the Baule, so let me chip in this. Some Asantes later migrated to settle with the Baule Guans, and they amalgamated as one people. So that is why Baules will tell you they have Asante ancestry and they have Guan ancestry. They have 2. Because some Asantes, because they intermarried and they gave birth. You get it? But the Baule language is far from Akan. It's Enyi. Pure Enyi. But due to the... what's the name? The giving birth and all that, yeah. But the Baules have been one of the most successful Guan group. They're in the Gonjas, because when it gets to Ivory Coast, if you don't mention Baule, then you don't know, because up to Yamoussoukro, Abidjan, the capital, is Baule set. When you get to the northern region, Gonja land, they have greater influence in the northern region. So far, the Guans who have been of high influence are the Gonjas and then the Baule. Yeah. In Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, okay, yeah, rose from the Nzima side or the Odenyin side. Now, this mentioning Kwame Nkrumah brings the story about Nzima Beye. Years later, in the past, okay, or during the time of our forefathers, They know Guan language. Nzima is Guan, Latte is Guan. So they see all of us as one people, all the Guans as one people. So it happened that when Okonfanochi casted the golden stool from the skies, according to Raj, when he brought the golden stool, they were shocked and were like, hey, Nzima Beye, because Okonfanochi is actually a Chirepon. But in the past, they don't see the difference between Chirepon and Nzima or Gunja. They saw them as the same people. So if you say Nzima, Nzima applies to Chirepon, Nzima applies to Latte, Nzima applies to the Efutu. If you say Efutu, it applies to even the Ghana people. The Ghana people call the Efutus as Obutu. They call the Awus as Obutu. They call even the Chirepon as Obutu in the past. But now, we try to see the difference, and then unfortunately Europeanization of our histories. Okay, instead of our people be brought together, God people be brought together, they've been separated. So till the people think Nzimes are different from Enyins are different from Baulis. They're not different, they're the same people. So Nzima Beye is actually because of Okonfanochi brought the golden stool, and obviously, got the language are the same. Nzima Beye, so Nzima is covering for the Ekwiapin people. Now, last but not the least, some Denchira and some other Akan group who felt betrayed and moved to the Enyi areas decided to learn the Enyi language. And in learning the Enyi language, they said, Asanu Ewie, the war is over. And because the war, okay, started by one Akan group, that's why they say Asa Enti. Because of war, we've separated that's the Asante people. So they started the war per oral history. But Asanu Ewi, Asewi, Sewi. That's all about the Sewi people. Okay, so Seshis are Akans who learned the Enyi language. So that's why till date, the Seshi language is Enyi spoken with an accent, because when a Enyi person says person, okay, the Enyis will say Swa, the Nezimans will say Suna, Sola, so Suna, Swa, but the Enyis will say Suna. So let's take Suna. When the Seshis are saying Kame, they say Brawa, but then the Enyis will say Bawa. Maybe the Enyis, how is about those say Akbolenu, Akbolenu, but then the Seshis will say Apronu, because in Chi, the quick sound is not existent. So this is one thing you are supposed to also note. I've given that more and more are ways to identify Guans. Now, another trick to the game is B and Mi sounds are existent in Guan languages, all Guan language, but Seshi doesn't have them. So that shows Seshi's genealogy as Akan. And when you check the northern Guans, that is the Dry or the Kenyan in Chumbulu, they have 6 days in the week, but in Ghana we all use 7 days. Yeah. Deeper explanations were laid in this book, how the countings are done and all that. Yeah, but I'm not going to, because it will make the video too long. Now let's look at how in every language, if you want to trace its genealogy, you have to look at the numbers. So now let's compare the Nzima numbers presently to some Guan numbers. So let's take Nzima Konye, okay, Konye, Inza, Na, Inu. Now let's look at Jain. Those say Okori, Anye. So the man should say Nye as 2. Then the Jain. As far as coming down, so from Techima, then you go further. As if you're going to the northern region, they also say Anye, Okori, Anye, Asa, Ana, Konye, Inza, Ena, Inu. So you see how the same they are. So let me start with Nzima. Konyo. Kon. Then Nzima, some group will say nyo, some also say nye. I'm using the nye, kon, nye. Then they jump okori and nye. But when you come to maybe the lattes, they will say eko nyo. insa, ina, inu, late, inu. Then the Gonjas or could also inzie. The Gonjas will say eshe. The Inchumbulus now we don't also say asie. The Zime 7 inzo. Then the rest will say sono. So you realize in Zima inzo. They have, okay, so in zono, but they've dropped the last no in zono. They dropped the last no in zo. They also say sono. The Gunyas will say asono. So assuming the Gunyas drop the no aso in zo. Then the latter sono they'll drop the no. So the efutus they'll say also say a son. The first will say a son. They have also dropped the other say a son. Then zo. Then Siemens will say motre. That's 8. The Jampo will say ache. The Latin century point will say chi. But now let's look at Nkunya. Nkunya will say ekweba. Then the actually also say gikwe. Ekweba Nkunya. Gichode gikwe. Then 9. Nzima will say ngwala. Bulu. Now bulu, the Gonjes and all the other one those say kudu. So bulu, kudu. Even Sesh also say bulu. So when you check the numbers, even Pepinza, Kope, Nyo, Sa, Na, Inu, Inzie, Inzo, Moche, Nguna, Bulu, the same thing. Ako, Anyo, Asa, Ano, Ase, Asono, Ache, or Abruwa. To the northern ones, it's only giant that says Ache. The rest say Abruwa, Akpuno, Kudu, Bulu. So you see, it's the same thing there. Ngwana, that's the 9. Akpono, Ngwana, 3 syllables. Akpono. So even the one in Ahanta Ekon, in Zima Kon, Seshi Kon, Ako, the photo will say Ekome, the some then the Chiripons will say Ako, some also say Eko. Like you see, they're all the same, but variations. So we shall pause here for now. If you need a copy of this book, Know Ghana Better, there are so many topics. It is over 400 pages. If you take the Jan people, very detailed history, how the name Jan came about, their communities, Achode, Ketekrachi, like very detailed history. Everything is in there. You can just contact me. Pick my number on the screen or my email, and I would dispatch it to you. If you're in Ghana, it will be sent to you by dispatch. If you are in the UK, copies are available in the UK. You will get it within 24 hours. God willing, by the end of December, there will be copies in Germany and probably and also in Canada. I may get copies to the US hopefully next year. Yeah, so copies will be available, but for now, if you are in Germany and you want a copy, you get it by November. So if you feel like placing an order, let me know. By November it will be brought to you. Okay, so without much time we waste, we shall pause here for now. If you also wish to study the Ga-Dangme or any other Guan language, let me know and I'll gladly help. Patronize the blogspot historical.blogspot.com, and you can learn more because I have so many articles there where you can easily learn. Also, I'm on Facebook, Huniah. If you have questions, you have contributions, why not? I'm available. So without much time I waste, thank you very, very much. And do not forget to subscribe and share this video for others to learn. Midana say, Mpeje nile, Mineningme, Asankushun, Ansanakusu. And this brings about, Ansanakusu brings about the Chakusi Anshe, which is thank you. And the Gonjes, Anshe, okay, or Ansha Asankushun, or answer. That is actually of Mandé origin. Well, people say Gonyas are Mandés. They're not necessarily Mandés. If you say Gonyas are Mandés, then it means the Chakosi are also Mandés. And then Chumbus also Mandé, because then Chumbus also say answer Nakusu or answer Nakua. The Naris also in Segesu from the answer, but the Chakosis have this sound make it sh. So answer, answer, inse, and it goes on. So yes, more knowledge to be shared, but we have to pause here. Me that one I say, me that base, me la base, yo.
It's Genesis on the beat.